Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Arrow episode 3 video. Lot of Team Arrow, OG Team Arrow stuff happening. So let's just get into it. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. And real quick reminder too, there's a new round of the Reverse Flash Ring giveaway this week. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So let's get going, starting with top 5 WTF. Diggle versus Oliver. So they finally laid this beast to rest. Nothing is more unpleasant than watching your main characters fight it out. Like, you want them to be a team, you want them to have fun and beat the crap out of villains. So they finally make nice. Diggle comes clean about Hive too. Been 2 years, we have more in common than you think, Diggle. If it wasn't clear, a lot of the reason that Diggle has been acting this way is because it's eating him up inside that he has been unable to make any headway in solving his brother's murder. He feels like he's been completely failing this, so that gets lumped in with all the stuff that happened to Lila last year. So the reason he's been so pissed off at Oliver is mostly because he's pissed off at himself. But that's all good now, let's all have a drink. OG Team Arrow. Felicity was on point this week, especially with the OG Team Arrow stuff. I mean, she was great in all her scenes, but I love the way they opened the episode. Original gangsta. What a coincidence that she ended up using a submachine gun later in the episode. On to number 4, OG Felicity is final boss form Felicity. Best recognize. There's a lot of reasons why the Felicity character is so much more fun this season. You know, just the way they're writing her, the kind of arcs they're giving her. Like boss mode Felicity, much more fun than assistant Felicity. She does get kind of bossy pants in the episode, but that's only to slap Diggle and Oliver to their senses. Like, she's just like, get a hold of yourselves, figure this shit out, you're messing everything up. They kind of need that. Like, Oliver can be really stubborn on his own, and Diggle's being really stubborn. Who else noticed, like, all the little things that Felicity said that she thought that she might be doing at some point in her life? Like, she's like, at one point I thought I might be a dental hygienist or a molecular biologist. She's just like an expert at almost everything. Mr. Terrific is probably an expert at all the things that she's not an expert at. You have to remember that even though they've changed Mr. Terrific a little bit from the comics, just the way the character is portrayed, a lot of the creative energy is still there. He's still one of the smartest people on the planet, but for the most part, his role in Team Arrow will be as an inventor, like coming up with new technology the way Cisco does. Cisco's more of an engineer though. He's better at building stuff. So what I'm really hoping to see is Cisco help Mr. Terrific build his T-spheres better. Like, Mr. Terrific develops the technology, Cisco's the character you would go to actually put it together and make it work right. On to number 3 though, Mr. Terrific knows Felicity's secret now, but not Oliver's. What Felicity meant by that is that Mr. Terrific knows that Felicity works with the Arrow, but he doesn't know that Oliver is the Green Arrow. Although, he'll probably find out at some point this season. It wouldn't be a new season of the show if people didn't learn Oliver's identity. The same thing's gonna happen with Barry and Patty Spivot on The Flash pretty soon too. First things first though, they have to save the company. Pretty clearly, these T-spheres are gonna have something to do with that. Now, the T-spheres in the comics can do all kinds of stuff. All they're doing right now though is blowing up. They're just spontaneously exploding. So that's the show's way of telling you that the T-spheres won't be a thing for a couple more episodes. If there's anything that I don't think that they'll let them do on the TV show, just out of practicality's sake, it would be using the T-spheres to fly. Like, Mr. Terrific can actually stand on them, and he uses them to fly around. I'm not expecting the show to do that. And in terms of costumes, like Mr. Terrific taking on his comic book persona, I think he'll look mostly like this for the rest of the season. Maybe in a future season, if he's still on in season 5 or 6, then he'll get some sort of costume. But think about how long it took Diggle to get that suit. I would put T-sphere completion somewhere around wherever this Project Genesis stuff is going on with Damien Dark. They name-dropped Phase 3. Now, obviously, we have no idea what that means. We have no idea what their timeline is, but I would venture to guess it has something to do with the mid-season finale. Like, it's all culminating towards some big point when the rest of Hive rolls into town and shit gets real. Speaking of which, on our number 2, Damien Dark's grand plan. So he demonstrates his abilities again, and it looks like a form of tactical kinesis, but he calls that a parlor trick. And in that conversation, they also call out to Project Genesis. So because he's heavily involved in mysticism, I'm wondering if what he's doing has something to do with raising demons, or something with the spiritual plane. Constantine is coming on in episode 5. Now, he's mostly going to be involved with Sarah's storyline, fixing her, so I don't know how involved he's going to get with the Damien Dark storyline. But they could do one of those things where he continues to help them from off camera. So when we do get to that Constantine episode in a couple weeks, just listen for any references to what might be going on with Damien Dark. And finally, on to my number 1 WTF moment. They resurrect Sarah in the Lazarus pit, Nyssa tanks it, and Thea, and consequently Sarah, are both going to have to kill people to quiet the souls inside of them. So first things first, they brought Sarah back. This is a really big deal. I actually wasn't expecting to have this scene till the Constantine episode, but the way this played out, I think kind of explains things. So Sarah is just going to go crazy until Constantine helps quiet the souls inside of her, or maybe the explanation is that she doesn't even have a soul right now and Constantine has to find it. Either way, Sarah is completely crazy pants. She is like what Thea will turn into eventually. I think that's the idea. Like Thea will eventually devolve into what Sarah is like right here. So Constantine will come help fix Sarah. I think Thea's solution will take a little bit longer. I think that'll be more of an internal battle that she'll have to deal with. Some of you did ask me though about Ra's al Ghul, like the Ra's al Ghul that Oliver killed last year, still being alive, because Merlin says that Thea needs to kill the person who wronged her. And since she thinks he's already dead, Merlin's like, well, you'll just have to keep killing people. That's the only way to keep from going completely crazy. But here's the big question. If you have to kill the person who wronged you, does that mean that Sarah is going to have to kill Thea? Obviously, I don't think that Thea's going to die. But really, it's going to be a shitstorm between the three of them, between Merlin, Sarah, and Thea, until Constantine arrives. Then you have to think about what's going on with Nyssa. She wants to get rid of Malcolm Merlin. She completely hates him, especially since he aided in bringing back Sarah. So she tanks the Lazarus pit. I mean, obviously there's more Lazarus pits around the world that we haven't seen yet. This isn't the only Lazarus pit. But she just took away Merlin's ace in the hole, so like he has no more cards to play. If he dies, he ends up staying dead. But the other thing I thought was really interesting too is that when he's talking to Thea, he says, "There's nothing I wouldn't do for my daughter." And he, like he threw those League members under the bus, under the Thea bus. What if Nyssa uses that type of like crazy energy to try and lead a coup against Merlin? It's just because the episode was titled Restoration, so I also think she's trying to restore her birthright. Let me know in the comments though, what did you guys think about the resurrection scene with Sarah Lance? I mean, did you like that, or do you feel like you were expecting something even bigger? I feel like they're trying to get this out of the way now so that they can actually have some fun with Katie Lotz on screen. You can have Black Canary squared kicking butt. Like they have a Birds of Prey episode that's coming up with both canaries in it and Thea. So if you feel like they did it too soon, it's just because they want to get to the good stuff even faster. But speaking of good stuff, don't forget that Oliver teased that he has a new Arrow lair in the works. I mean, I still call it the Arrow Cave, even though they call it the lair. You can call it whatever you want. But I felt like even when Felicity was like, machine gunning the crap out of Double Down, that was kind of like the impetus of like, okay, well, we're going to destroy this Arrow Cave, so we're going to have to build a new one. That was going to be the catalyst for making the new lair. But it turns out that Oliver had one planned the whole time. Felicity is just going to be the one to bankroll it. And yes, this is totally Ray Palmer that's messaging Felicity, or trying to message her. That's what all this weird text is about. It's just that when you're really small like that, Felicity wouldn't be able to hear him. The sound waves don't work that way when you're really, really tiny. So using the computers is the only way that he'll be able to talk to Felicity. So they'll develop that plot line as we go along. I think the strongest actors this week were probably Felicity. Like she had some of the best scenes, and Thea when she was going really, really crazy. Like when she slowly killed that one League member, like she just drew the blade across his neck. So vicious. Thea's having more fun this season than almost any of the other actors on the show. But what's going to happen tomorrow is I'm going to catch up with my Gotham video. I still need to post a Gotham video for this week. And then I'll try and get Q&As out for Game of Thrones and Arrow and The Flash. There was so much Star Wars stuff at the beginning of this week that I had to rearrange a bunch of stuff. So get hyped. Constantine is coming soon. It is going to be awesome. Just in case you guys haven't seen it, you can click here for last night's episode of The Flash, and you can click here for the Star Wars Episode 7 trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.